Filmspeak podcast. My name is Dave.
My name's Amanda,
And I'm Adam.
and this is our weekly conversation about movies.
How was everybody's week?
My week was okay. My semester is ending in only 3 weeks, so it's like definitely crunch time right now. But I don't know. I think I'm in good shape, so whatever. How was your guys' week?
I was pretty good. I didn't really do much of anything. It was pretty relaxing, and just rubbing Tiger Balm on my shoulder. Still trying to get sponsored.
Amazing.
But yeah, and thinking about PlayStation 4, so I can get sponsored by them too.
Oh yeah.
That'd be sick.
I love that. Love those PlayStation 4s. Sure would like to have one of those.
Sony.
You and every kid 10 years ago.
That was mean-spirited.
Come on, I'm just kidding. PS4 is rad.
Yeah, PS4 is super rad. We'll never get sponsored if you're talking shit.
I don't care because I have one.
I don't have one, but I wish I did.
Yeah.
Sony, the ball is in your court.
Sony, I would take his too.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to happen now. Just put it out there
Thanks.
into the world.
We love
and
you.
Immediately it'll come back.
Yeah.
Anything else this week?
Nah, that's it. Just sitting around being a whore.
Oh.
Word.
Yeah,
Easy money.
that's right. What did you do, Adam?
Nothing. I watched like a bunch of documentaries. Actually, as far as movie viewing goes, and other than that, just had like a pretty relaxed week. Normal.
What did you watch?
Yeah, what did you watch?
Well, this was the week of 420, and I watched the Grateful Dead movie that day. You can imagine like what kind of day I was having, I'm sure. But that thing is really awesome. It's like a really great set by them, but beyond that, like, it sort of is telling a story of the band, in an interesting way, and nothing I've seen other than like the recent Bob Weir documentary has like done it anywhere near as good as this has. So, and this was like 1972, so it's like right after like some changes that happened with them, like members dying and like musically them kind of like growing into something completely different. So just like a very like particular like special moment for the band, and they all did that themselves, like put all the footage together, like Jerry and some guys like worked on hard, and it's just interesting to like look back on because it really does work as like a nice piece of like flowing documentary filmmaking, basically. On top of it being just like a rad way to like lose 2 hours because like every song just fucking rips. Basically, they played like 3 nights and then just like picked their best like performances from there, and it's cool.
All right.
Yeah, I watched some other like music stuff too. Jimi Hendrix live at Monterey Pop Festival.
Oh yeah,
that's sort of like similar in the sense of like there's like the performance side, but it's more telling a story about like a particular time, like in America, even like like racial stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen that documentary, Dave.
I have not.
But it's awesome, and like it's like the first time anyone had ever seen like Jimi Hendrix in person, let alone like really even heard his music. Everybody's like losing their damn minds, but he's like biting the guitar strings and shit. So it's pretty cool. It's like very real and very like genuine. I don't know why. Like we decided to watch the movie that we are going to talk about later, but it kind of like turned my mood into like just documentary heavy. Like all week I've been like hunting out like really cool stuff, and so yeah, that was one of them. And then the last thing I'll talk about is like a Magic Johnson and Larry Bird documentary that's on HBO right now. I don't have like any real history with them, other than the fact that it was going on like right when I was pretty much being like born. Basically, I was like 1 or 2 years old when those two were like in their prime of like arguing, like or like arguing on the court and like fighting it out in the playoffs type of shit. But it's just like a really compelling story of two guys who are sort of caught like in like again just like the weird like racist like super divided time like in America where like Boston and the whole East Coast was like super like hyped on this like white guy that they had to like put as their like big like literally what they call like the big white hope, and then like on the opposite side like Magic Johnson was just this like do good like real nice person off the court, but as soon as he got on he was all show.
Yeah.
Oh man, all business, and like those guys just seriously were like the most like impressive offensive and like defensive basketball players it seemed like of their era. So just like really awesome documentary, and yeah, that's about it.
Didn't you watch a John Coltrane documentary too?
Oh yeah, I have seen that. Or like I watched most of that again. I've seen it all in its entirety before, but it's called The World According to John Coltrane.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like a nice little like hour long. I think it aired on the BBC like a long time ago, maybe or something. The 90s, I think, is when it came out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. And speaking of that, actually, there's like a new John Coltrane documentary that's like about to be released. I guess I don't know when. He's still like shopping it, but it was at like some film festivals, and people were saying it's like really impressive. So I'm excited about that.
Cool.
Because Coltrane's the man. But yeah, the other thing is cool. The World According to John Coltrane is on YouTube in its entirety. It's just like really good performances and basically like A to C, basically. A little bit of his upbringing, a lot of his music, and a little bit about his dad. But that's really it. It's only like an hour thing, but it's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. What about you guys? Watch anything?
Go ahead, Amanda.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so I've been watching the season 3 of The Leftovers, and I really, really, really love this show. I've been watching it since season 1 aired, and I've been following it and been really interested in it. I actually read the book that it was based on too. It's like, have you guys heard of it, or have you guys seen it at all?
I watched a couple episodes of the first season, but I was watching it at a friend's house, and I don't have HBO at the moment. So HBO, if you want to sponsor us too.
Yeah, I again, just like Dave, have only seen the first couple episodes, but that was like when they were airing. It was just a show I never kept up with, basically. But I know from like other film or like TV related podcasts I listen to that like it has gotten to be this like super uniquely special thing, because every year they basically are like, are we going to get canceled? So they sort of do like, they up the stakes, or they make it like it's its own season type of thing. I've heard.
It's almost that way. Like, it's always the same characters. Like, the cast doesn't change, but they like relocate basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's different in that way, and there's also like time jumps. So it's like the first season is like, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's like 2 years after like the quote unquote rapture happens, and then the second season is a couple years after that, and they move to a town in Texas, and then there's like new characters introduced and everything. And the second season's awesome. And all of the seasons are, actually like they're like actually physically airing over a year apart from each other. But I don't know. I mean, it's just crazy. I believe season 3 is happening now, and the second episode just aired this past Sunday, and I didn't know what to expect. I am glad that this is the final season because I don't really want it to be like tainted or anything, but it's really amazing, and it's really like well written, and it's kind of crazy to me that like such a show that's like based on religion and has this like almost supernatural element to it. It just like maintains so much vulnerability and like so much just like I guess like candid humanness, if that makes sense. And then I don't know, it's just like the acting in it is incredible. Carrie Coon, who is also the sister from Gone Girl, is like after seeing the show, she's like one of my favorite actresses. I think she's amazing, and it's just the writing is just so emotion based, and like when it really comes down to it, when you like look at every single character in the show, it's really all about just like coping, which is, I don't know, something that like a lot of people can relate to, even though this is a super like dramatized and like far-fetched situation. But I think it's like a really, really, really awesome show, and I think that a lot of people kind of overlooked it because I honestly almost stopped watching it after the first couple episodes of season 1, but I would say like halfway through season 1 it like really gripped me. But yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm really excited to watch the rest of the season. I feel like it's gonna like fuck me up, so
here's to that.
woohoo. I also watched the new Netflix show Girl Boss. It's
Oh man, I had like a fever dream trying to watch the first episode of this last night. I was like way too tired.
yeah.
It seems so rad.
Okay, so it's 13 half-hour episodes, and I just like really ran through it within like 3 days. But I think that there were a lot of hits and a lot of misses. There were some like genuinely hilarious parts. There's a episode where they have like a bit on the OC that had me fucking dying.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's awesome, and like the main.
I'm like my life has like come full circle now that I like. There's a show about like someone poking fun at the OC, like in like a current day teenager's life, like. So weird.
Well, actually, it does take place in like the mid 2000s, so it's really like,
weird.
Yeah, no, like
That's why then I gotcha.
Yeah, so like they're like on MySpace and they're like on like AskJeeves.com and like stuff like that. And it's really cool. I really liked seeing that, and but there is just like I don't know. There are times I think it's like it was genuinely hilarious and everything and like an interesting story because I know the Nasty Gal brand now as like this very, I wouldn't say high end, but it's like very expensive, very, very, very trendy clothes. And I actually had no idea that it like started off as like an eBay page. But there is just some parts of it that like I just felt like sometimes it was so over the top like all the time that it didn't really always work with like the subject matter. But that's like, I mean, compared to everything else, I think it was like worth watching, and it's easy to just like run through the whole season and like genuinely enjoyable, and everything is like really, I noticed that everything was really warm toned, and so it kind of just like was relaxing and put me in a good mood to watch it. So but yeah, let me know your thoughts when you watch it because I'm interested. But
yeah, like I said, I tried to start watching it last night, but I kind of just like fell asleep on it immediately. But I liked it. I want to check it out.
Yeah, the lead actress is Britt Robertson, and I'd seen her in a few other things before, but she's interesting to me. But I also kind of realized that she looks like a younger Jennifer Lawrence. And that's like all I could think of every time I was looking at her. But whatever. I also saw the movie Personal Shopper, which is a new movie with Kristen Stewart in it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I really love the shit out of Kristen Stewart, and I think she's an extremely interesting person. And this movie kind of like showed off her acting skills, which like I think a lot of people overlook just because they look at her and think of like the fucking Twilight movies, which really shouldn't even count. But it's like,
This is where she made all her money.
yeah, pretty much. But yeah, but no, this movie is like it was like a very modern and like small scale ghost story. And it has like an extremely small cast as well. And I don't know, it's basically like Kristen Stewart is a personal shopper in Paris, and her twin brother died, and she like refuses to leave until she has some kind of like sign or like connection or like communication with her dead brother because she's like a medium. And while all this is happening, she like starts receiving really mysterious text messages, and it just kind of like fucks up her like whole world. And I don't know, I really, really, really enjoyed it and would recommend it. I don't want to go more into it because I'll like end up spoiling it, so never mind. The last movie I'm gonna mention is I finally saw the movie A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Have either of you seen it?
I have not, but it's on my shelf.
Nice. Definitely watch it because it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to. I'll get to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a movie that I've been like meaning to watch for a while, but I always was just kind of like, I'll just like watch something else. And then I finally just like made myself hit play on Netflix, and I really loved it. It's like a few genres blended together, and like visually it's just very like film noir and like extremely beautiful. The lighting in the movie was like absolutely incredible, like matched with the whole movie being in black and white. I was just like blown away. Yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad I watched it. I didn't realize before watching it, I didn't realize A, that it was an Iranian movie, and B, that it came out in 2014. For some reason I thought it was like way more recent, but I guess I'm just like fucking wrong. What did you watch?
I watched two movies. I watched the movie Jonah Hex because hashtag rolling with Brolin.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, all through April.
Yeah, I'm just going to be rolling with Brolin for a little bit, so bear with me. I've never been a huge Jonah Hex fan in the comics, but I'm not even sure if I've ever read a solo Jonah Hex comic, but I'm familiar with the character through, like crossovers and team-ups and what have you. I thought the movie could have been a lot better, especially with all the talent that's in there. Josh Brolin, John Malkovich, Michael Shannon, Megan Fox, Michael Fassbender, Will Arnett, Lance Reddick. Like, it just seemed like it could have been a lot more than what it was. And I understand it's hard to make a comic movie and not have it look hokey as fuck, because the things that happen in comic books are really unrealistic. And if you look at some of the earlier comic book movies out there, like, it just doesn't stand up, and it looks just terrible. So now we're at the point where like effects can catch up and actually be realistic and not look cheesy as shit. But I don't know, I just think also, like, the character of Jonah Hex, just every time he would go after John Malkovich's character, he would get worn the fuck out. And like, he didn't change his game plan at all. And there were times when I guess the makeup kind of made him sound a little bit like Sling Blade, or the character of Carl from Sling Blade. So it was kind of like I couldn't really like get past that too because I kept thinking about Carl. But he like would go straight at them. Like he would like kind of sneak around and then be like, all right, I'm just gonna go through all his fucking men and then just get there and get the shit kicked out of me. And he dies a couple times during the movie and keeps coming back. But yeah, it just could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you guys have seen it.
No.
No.
No, it's always been like something I'd want to like drink with my buddies and watch on like a weekend or something, but never got around to it. Mostly because everybody was like, hell fucking no.
Well, I mean, that would be probably the best setting to watch, man. Just with, you know, a bunch of people just sitting around and getting shit housed, you know. But, and the other movie that I watched was a movie called The Stuff. It just got reissued on Arrow Blu-ray, and it basically sums it up right in the first minute and a half of the movie. There's just an old guy in like an Arctic setting, and he walks over like away from the camp, and he sees this kind of like white bubbling shit coming out of the ground. So he decides to just jam his fingers in it and start eating it. And he's like, "This is delicious. I could sell this." Not thinking of like, "Hey, this is just something that's coming out of the ground. Let's not eat that." But so it ends up being the stuff that kind of like takes over your brain and eats you from the inside. And, you know, so there's a kid who sees that it's, you know, it's moving around in the fridge at night, and his parents are eating it a lot, and they get taken over. And so he teams up with this corporate spy who is working with the ice cream biz to, you know, get dirt on the stuff. And when he finds out a lot, and you know, wackiness ensues. But so yeah, The Stuff.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
so
pretty good.
Larry Cohen. Did you ever see like any of his other things? Did you ever see like Uncle Sam with Isaac Hayes?
I have not seen that.
Holy shit, so good.
What else did he do?
Like he's been making movies since like the 70s. He made like a movie called like God Told Me To with who's the dude from Taxi? Fucking Kaufman, the guy who
Andy
was like,
Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman. Yeah, it's like a serious movie he made. I don't know. Larry Cohen just made like a bunch of weird. He made like It's Alive and like all the sequels that they made after that. I don't know. He just made like a bunch of like interesting shit. Phone Booth.
I've never seen that.
I think I have. I think I've seen Phone Booth. I think my grandma has it on VHS.
Yeah, he's basically just been making like weird B movies since like, you know, the 70s. He's a cool director. I love the way his stuff looks, even if it's not like the best like subject matter, you know. Like the stuff works because it like looks so interesting, you know.
Yeah, and that's another one where like the effects aren't great, but in a movie like that, you know, it's not supposed to be. So
sure, yeah, and like, but it's still shot like very interestingly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they still make it seem daunting. Like when the kid is like inside of the like concrete truck that's about to go like filled with this stuff. It's just like, I don't know, it's so stupid, but it also works. You know?
Right. Yeah.
They know what they're like. He knew what he was doing. I think the stuff is like really awesome because it's sort of like a commentary on like, you know, anything that like people were just like throwing in their bodies, like Coca-Cola or you know, like fluff or like whatever. Yeah. It's just like tons of sugar and just like give it to me like all day long, basically. And I think it was sort of like a mirrored thing at the time, but it was a flop of a movie, so no one really like thinks about it seriously. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Not that you should.
Excuse me.
Yeah, definitely. It's very like, definitely very like reflective.
It's definitely an '80s movie.
Hell yeah. But at the same time, like smarter than an '80s movie. Like it feels like a step ahead, kind of. I don't know. The stuff is cool. We should watch that at some point, especially if we ever do the horror pod.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, hear that? It's coming. the horror podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna
Creeping up on you.
It's gonna sound horrifying.
Creeping up
Ooh.
on you like Slender Man.
Rosemary's Babies.
Oh my God.
Well, I know a movie that we all watched.
Dogtown and Z-boys.
Dogtown and Z-boys.
Frogtown and Z-boys. Ribbit. Ribbit.
Well, this movie was actually Dave's pick. So, Dave, I'm actually curious, why did you pick this movie?
I picked this movie mostly because, as previously discussed on this podcast, I used to be a skater kid in my teens. And the first time I watched this, the first time that I had watched this movie, it just gave me a feeling of nostalgia, and it just made me really happy. And I just wanted to watch it again. So that's why I picked it. So
Cool.
deal with it. No, but yeah, what did you guys think about it? And have you seen it before?
I had not seen it before, but I had seen Lords of Dogtown like 80 million times. I won't go super into Lords of Dogtown, but like I really do love that movie, and seeing that, first of all, I didn't realize that Dogtown and Z-boys came out before Lords of Dogtown, so that was cool. But so seeing this now for the first time, and like thinking back on Lords of Dogtown, and like seeing it fictionalized, and like the things that they were talking about reflected in that movie was super cool. And I don't know, just learning about it, because like I don't know a lot about skateboarding, but I mean, I still found everything in this super, super interesting. The last thing I will say about Lords of Dogtown, though, is that the soundtrack for both of the movies are really great, but seeing that Maggie May was in both of the soundtracks was like super, super cool. And yeah, I don't know. That was just something that I really, really loved, and like made me super happy too. But
yeah, there's a lot of music actually that's like in both things.
Yeah.
And especially actually like in similar scenes even.
Oh wow.
Yeah, definitely. Like Maggie May in both movies is when they're talking about, oh shit, I don't have the name written down. But it's the guy who makes the surfboards.
Yeah, Skip.
Yes.
Skipper, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, the guy who like makes
The guy who owns the shop.
Yeah, and Heath Ledger plays him.
Mhm.
Yeah, but no, so that was super cool. That was just like something that definitely stuck out to me, just because I already had that movie in mind.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm curious, like, what your takeaway was, because I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff. You know, if you're comparing the two, which I guess you kind of obviously have to do because they weren't far apart. I mean, they both do interesting things, but the like dramatized version of it, basically like everything that they say in the documentary, I feel like is like fully fleshed out in like Lords of Dogtown. You know what I'm saying? Like little tiny moments where they'll just be like, yeah, me and so and so were like doing this one particular thing, but it's like a full scene sort of in Lords of Dogtown. Like they stretch it out differently. But yeah, I don't know. It's Lords of Dogtown is cool, but I mean it feels sort of like cheap compared to this, because they're basically telling the same story, but
Yeah.
You can't get much more out of like comparing the two is unfair because should Lords of Dogtown be made? Sure, because like other things have been mocked that were like documentaries in the past, but the fact that they are so very similar is a little jarring to me. I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with the comparison, but it kind of obviously, I guess, has to we have to talk about it a little bit.
I mean, I'm not trying to compare the two as if one is better than the other, because obviously Dogtown and Z-boys is probably a higher quality movie and speaks a bit more truth and gives you a bit more of an insight into this group of people. But I just think I don't know, Lords of Dogtown, obviously a lot of the information that they had with this movie was based on the information that was provided in this one documentary. That's I don't know where else they would have gotten that information from. And then
Sure.
I don't know, I still think the cast of Lords of Dogtown was awesome, and they made everything so much more interesting too. But I don't know, it's I still think it was great, but that was definitely I don't know, I feel like maybe I would have a completely different insight if I hadn't seen that movie when I was 11 years old and kind of grew up watching it. And I knew that this movie was out there, and I had been meaning to see it and curious about it for years, and I'm just seeing it now 16 years later. So it's so it's just a bit different.
Well, it's weird for me because I saw this right when it came out, and I was really hyper into it. But I was kind of okay, these guys are a little too hard-nosed for my style. But then when the movie version came out, I was a huge movie guy at the time, even as a young dude. So I was okay, cool, a skateboarding movie. So I watched this movie I watched Lords of Dogtown 100 fucking times. But now I feel I would maybe feel a little differently toward it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Given the nostalgia on the table thing.
Yeah.
It's it feels like a stepping stone for Emile Hirsch. And unfortunately not many of the other guys, but you still see some of those homies that you see later on in sort of cool stuff the kid who has brain cancer.
Yeah, that kid was in Sky High.
Yeah, and he's Kristen Stewart's for a long time was Kristen Stewart's boyfriend, bringing it full circle.
He's also the little kid from Almost Famous.
Yeah, and he's in some other stuff too. But yeah, and Catherine Hardwicke, who made the first Twilight, made Lords of Dogtown.
She also did 13, didn't she?
I think so, yeah. So it's cool. Some connections are there, but
Dave, have you seen Lords of Dogtown?
I have not.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw Dogtown and Z-boys first, and then I heard that was coming out, and I just think that the reason why I didn't see it is because I just didn't want to see that romanticized. There is some tragedy in the story, and I didn't want to see that in a different way. I wanted to see it, in the real way.
yeah. No,
And not sadistic, I want to see how how it really happened, but sometimes with things like that, I just think it takes away from the real story of what actually happens.
Right.
Yeah, or the story that, like, in this case, like, they're trying to tell in this documentary. It's like the movie definitely, like, expands on, like, a lot of, like, the partying angle and all, like, and the documentary does a good job of, like, just having its feet in everything, basically, and, like, guiding you through it all, but I don't know. They're two different beasts, basically. But yeah, Lords of Dogtown, worth checking out if you like Emil Hirsch, basically, because it's like one of his like best performances, and he's so fucking young in it.
I'm almost glad
embodies that character. Sorry,
it's okay. No, I'm almost glad that like we didn't do Lords of Dogtown instead, because I feel like all I would have been talking about is Emil Hirsch, because he was like one of like my first like major crushes, and it was because of this movie. So I was like, shit. So yeah, I don't know. Also, Heath Ledger in that movie, and anything with Heath Ledger, and it just like automatically breaks my heart now. So I don't know, but I don't mean to like keep going into Lords of Dogtown. So like maybe we should move on.
No, I mean like it is sort of worth talking about.
Yeah, I mean it has to be addressed.
Yeah.
Because that is like its own cool thing. Like, there's a lot of like, you know, all the people who are in this movie, like a lot of them were involved with like storytelling, sort of, and like, you know, they're in scenes like hidden in the background, and you know, fucking, I don't know, like Lords of Dogtown being an actual movie was like a big deal, you know, and
Yeah.
I don't know. So it is cool, like, but it's only cool because of the fucking Z-boys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Which is like, I guess what we can get into now is like the actual documentary a little bit, if you'd like. Sure. But yeah, what is it? Basically, like, is it late 60s? What part of the town do you live in?
Like mid 70s, somewhere around there.
70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like 70s.
Like Venice
Beach?
Beach.
Venice Beach. Yeah. I always thought they were like from Santa Cruz, but it's so much cooler. They were like in LA.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like little like. Well, basically the story goes, I guess, that there was like some like surf dudes there that were like super gnarly, and then like they started a shop, and then like all the like skate craze happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then like the kids in the neighborhood started like picking up on all that. Is that really like right where it goes? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there were all these like surf spots around that, you know, they would only break a certain way, you know, a certain time of day, and then when it wouldn't, you know, they would just be off like skateboarding, practicing their surfing moves, essentially.
Right.
And then they became like, that became the habit, you know, they started skating more than they were surfing.
Yeah.
And it just kind of took over.
Dude, when they're showing all the footage of those guys like surfing in between like all the like broken down piers and shit.
Pier. Yeah.
It's so insane. Like, I just like can't believe it.
And they show that guy like walking off the beach like with a broken surfboard. It's like, man, that's, you know, and you look at just how treacherous it is, and you know.
Yeah, that's some wild ass shit. But yeah, so from there, I guess it's like the kids are like getting involved with like the surf shop because they're like making skateboards out of there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the guys who own the shop try to like put these kids like together to go like fucking win some events, and then like they go to show up to that like first open event, it's like all like mayhem breaks loose basically.
Yeah.
When they start skating, which is so rad. It's just so funny too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's so funny how like when, you know, they're actually like fucking actually are skating, like, I don't know, it used to be this like such like this cool thing to me as a kid, you know, being like obsessed with like skateboarding and like skateboard culture and all that. And now I'm just like it is impressive and it is rad. And they're like shredding, but they are just like some funny ass looking kids, like with like goofy ass haircuts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they are.
And like it's hilarious to me that they're all so fucking young. Like the fact that Jay Adams is like 12 years old. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh my god! I remember being like 15 and like looking up to that guy. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like watching footage of this kid when he was 12, and now I'm like, you know, like it doesn't. I don't know. It's just so. That was sort of a weird culture shock. But I guess that's like what ultimately like sort of like like the humility part of this documentary, like when they all get to their like peaks, like and some guys go down from there and some guys go up. It's like I don't know. It's cool. This whole like the whole documentary is cool. I like where it goes like from there because basically everything like falls apart with that team, and then they all move on and are getting like their own sponsorships when like skateboarding gets like to be real, and these guys are like the face of it now.
Well, that's what, going back to the Del Mar Nationals, that's when everything changed. Like, after that, there was, you know, the guy wanted to take them there and just kind of show them off, and when he did, he basically was just like, take these guys from me. You know, you know, he didn't want that to happen, but that's what ended up happening. You know, he had such a you know, a collection of talent, and when they went there, you know, they were the first ones there too, and you know, people were warming up and doing all these like nerdy skateboard tricks, you know, like, and when Jay Adams went up there and he fucked it up. Like, you know, watching that the first time, I just wanted to just fucking get up and be like, yeah, it was awesome, you know, just watching this little kid who, you know, is used to skating these pools and, you know, doing all these hardcore crazy tricks, and they just give him a slab of concrete and they're like, here you go, figure it out. And he just, you know, he just changed the game. And like, all of their pants, like their asses were just blown out from like sliding around on the, you know, man, it's awesome. It's just a great movie.
Yeah.
Or, you know, a great movie about a time period that, you know, just the fact that they have all this footage too is just such a, you know, it's a blessing that you're like, oh man, we get to just watch skateboarding basically be born. You know, it had its you know, phases where it was a 2x4 on roller skates, and then, you know, they started making boards and people started doing like tricks, and this is basically the advent of both vert and street skating, which, you know, I find interesting.
Yeah, something I actually had written down was that, like, it's so interesting and honestly it's just so awesome how many archived pictures and videos they were able to get, and it was all, I'm pretty sure, wasn't like pretty much all of it from Craig Stesic? Like, wasn't it pretty much like all by him? And that's just like incredible. I mean, the whole documentary was very like, it was very anecdotal, and they all, I mean, it was just like a lot of reflection, and I think a really cool thing about that, on top of like all the footage and everything, was just like they kind of created, or like at least recreated, this whole like sense of community that like they all shared. That, I don't know, it must have just been like a really, really, really exciting thing to be a part of and to be alive for. And I think that they did like a really good job of like showing that and kind of making the viewer feel the same exact way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely presented well in a way where you care about everybody, you know, even like the peripheral guys that aren't really in the spotlight too much, you know, you care about them, and then, you know, you just kind of see them in the background a lot. You know, they basically only, you know, really push 5 of the guys up to the forefront, you know.
Like Brainiac or whatever. I love that fucking guy.
Yeah, they could have had a whole, you know, documentary just on Peggy.
Yeah.
But it's cool that, you know, and they were accepting of her too, you know. A lot of, you know, it was early 80s, so a lot of people probably would just be like, oh, you know, this is all a guys club, and, you know, it's cool that, you know, she was accepted in there, you know, and she, you know, with good reason. She could skate or surf too, you know, and
yeah,
that's, you know,
when she says like her moment to shine in the documentary is when she says that she was getting yelled at by the guys because she skated too much like a guy, and then the judges are like, well, she skates better than you guys.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, okay. I don't know, like that was a really cool moment.
Yeah, it was.
She rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, these guys are like the true OGs, and I guess like with any like, I don't know, like rise to like a certain level, like you're gonna have the like weird downfall. But the documentary kinda is less like intense than I remembered it being. And it makes me feel good to know that like, oh, okay, these guys like say that their lives are like incredibly hard, and I'm sure that like Jay Adams' life was super hard. But like, I don't know, the documentary kind of at least like gives them some closure on it. Like it doesn't seem like he's so, I don't know. Jay Adams
he's
actually,
not like so far gone, you know. He's
yeah, but they, you know, actually though they do like make it seem like he is though. Like the last shot of his bit is like that fucking zoom in of like the photo of him as a kid, like he's died or something. It's like, well, like I don't know. The Jay Adams thing is like incredibly heavy-handed, but at the same time, if it was any other director, I would feel justified saying that. But the fact that it's like fucking Stacy Peralta, like it can be as emotional as he wants it to be because he was there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I guess like I'm just kind of talking in circles, but you know, I just thought that was weird. Like I'm like, Jesus, you guys are playing up Jay Adams like he's this like incredibly sad sack, and it's like, I don't know. His life went a different way than everybody else's, but
yeah.
You know, at the same time, all these other guys are just being like, well, I mean, like you get one chance, and if you don't get it, you know, and it's like, well, yeah, but don't make him seem like he's this like villainized, like, you know, like downtrodden person currently. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's like that's like a more of like a documentary pet peeve of mine than this specific movie. But you know, I don't know. Like show the man some respect because he's like in the fucking room with you, and they do. I don't know. They do.
I think the three main focuses, I think that the three main focuses, as far as characters go, were Stacy Peralta, Tony Alva, and Jay Adams. And it shows all of their, like, they were all three, like, the biggest skater at one point, all in a different, you know, like, 5-year period. And they were all, like, you know, voted top skater or whatever, and they all just went in different directions, where, like, Stacy Peralta kind of learned how to market himself and other people and went on to, you know, he stepped aside and went to market the Bones Brigade, and that was, you know, that took skating to a completely different level, you know, where
that's my shit.
Yeah, I mean, that Bones Brigade, that's a completely different, you know, animal right there. That, I mean, that was a time. I used to watch those skate videos all the time.
Dude, search for Animal Chin.
Yeah, I have that on DVD.
Oh my god.
Bootleg.
we should make Amanda watch that one day.
All right. But
it's like a skateboarding, like a skate video, but there's like a movie going on also. Like
yeah,
like
the storyline.
simultaneously.
Wait, what is it called again?
It's a skate video where they're looking for this great skater, and they just find all these like sick ass ramps and shit, and they do all these tricks, as clues to where to find him, and then they just find this awesome ramp at the end, and they skate the shit out of it.
Wait, so in order to find clues, they have to do sick tricks?
Yeah, they just have to they just skate around. They're like, have you seen Animal Chin? And they're like, oh, he was skating over there. And so they skate over there, and then they find a clue and, travel elsewhere. But
It sounds crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is bananas. It's like one of, I think, 2 or 3 times that they skateboarding tried to make a skateboarding film that was also a movie. Do you remember when Birdhouse did that by chance, Dave?
I don't remember that. I was out of skating by then.
Okay, they made a movie called The End, where people, they're acting in it and shit, but it was cut with just them also skateboarding.
Oh man.
Bizarre. Yeah, but Tony Hawk was involved with both of those.
Right.
And just speaking of the evolution of skateboarding, it all starts right here, obviously, with these guys. But it's cool that everybody was cool enough to be for the next school of kids, we'll help you out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. That was, and it seems like Tony or Stacy Peralta took all the things that he had learned from all his cruise mistakes and just kind of put the Bones Brigade on a different track where they weren't partying all the time. They had curfews and things like that, and they were more, I guess, corralled and didn't really have a chance to go out and get into trouble.
Right, they're like a professional sports team.
Yeah, and
rather than just some fucking ragtag 13-year-old badasses.
And all right, so Stacy Peralta was more like the marketer. Jay Adams was the rock star, and he kind of crashed and burned. And Tony Alva was just kind of the even keel guy who just all he wanted to do was skate every day, and he still to this day is he's skating. Just finds a pool and just that's all he wanted to do, and he just I guess wanted to live comfortably off of it. And
I mean, yeah, the dude just wanted to win and make his money.
Yeah, and he did, and
yeah,
he's still he's still kind of living the dream. But it seemed also kind of not only was there a little bit of a rivalry between Tony Alba and Stacy Peralta, as far as since they were kind of at the top, together for so long, it also seemed like there was a rivalry not just between those two, but between every one of them. Not a malicious rivalry, but just they would push each other in a way where it was they had to be better than everybody else. And again, not in a malicious way. It was just, everybody wanted to be the best that they could. And they would, since the competition was so high and they were innovating things together at such a high level, it just seems like they, the way that they pushed each other was, almost antagonistic to, in a sense. But not, again, antagonistic, but not malicious. Also, interesting fact, movie, documentary, narrated by Seymour Butts.
Yeah, I don't know how I felt about him as a narrator.
I didn't find him offensive.
Oh, you mean me, Sean Penn?
Oh my god.
It's me, Sean.
I just
like,
there were just a lot of okay.
Okay.
All of us are talking at the same time. Dave, go.
I was gonna say I did like that. I liked how when he would mess up or like when the record skipped, they would leave it in and just kind of like, flub up the film a little bit, where it was just like it seemed kind of like it was the film's fault, not him messing up or the record skipping. I thought that was pretty cool edit.
I just felt like okay. Well, first of all, the film's editing is like pretty fucking crazy, but But I don't know, the only thing I didn't really like about Sean Penn's narration was that he just sounded like very, very, very disengaged at like several parts. But I don't know, whatever.
Have either of you guys seen a movie called Stoked?
No.
No.
It's the rise and fall of Mark Gator Rogalski. He was an '80s skateboarding guy who was, he was an awesome skater, and he rode for Vision, and he murdered his girlfriend,
Oh my god.
and is now is now serving jail time. But it's basically it just shows how, again, with in the case of Jay Adams, on a completely different, not like physical harm level to somebody else, how reality of not being able to handle all this fame and money at such a young age, and just how it ultimately corrupts you. It's sad, and it just shows the price of fame for people who don't know how to handle it. And kids definitely, they don't know how the world works, and teenagers just should not be, basically given free reign and the keys to the car to be like, here, just fuck up your life. They need some kind of guidance or discipline. And, when you put people who don't know how the world works in power, it just kind of, they inevitably are just going to drive off a cliff. And it just shows the tragedy of success sometimes. But I think you would like the movie Stoked if you also like this and like the movie Dogtown and Z-Boys. So yeah, you should check that out as well.
Who would you recast?
Sean Penn.
Here, it's me, Sean.
Stop doing that.
I'm having a hard time with this documentary.
Unbelievable.
So since Sean Penn is the only real actor and everybody else is people that were actually there, you can't really recast anybody other than Sean Penn.
Yeah, who would you guys recast Sean Penn with?
Yeah, who would you have as the narrator?
The kid from the Sandlot.
I love it.
I was there with all my bros and my cool sister mom.
Even my mom, a grown-up girl.
Oh man. No, I don't know. We don't have to do the recasting. I was just like joking. But yeah, I like this documentary a whole lot. It like flows really well, like, and I really appreciate that. And it definitely is like super engaging from start to finish. At the end, when they're all like riding, we mentioned the kid earlier. We mentioned the actor, I guess, that brought him up, but like the guy who fucking is like hosting them at his pool.
Oh, the one who is dying.
Yeah, who has like brain cancer or whatever, and he's just like trying to like have some people fucking come skate his house. and like they are, and they're all just like having like their best sessions, and it's so cool to like hear them talk about how like, you know, they're like, we had like a lot of time to spend with like that pool, you know. It's like we're just like trying things we like never would have done before because like we have time to practice it and all that shit. I don't know, it's cool. That moment is like really amazing. It's like it comes together with like, you know, something that's like bigger than all of them, but at the same time they're all like men enough to understand that they all should be here doing this. That like nothing is better at that moment than fucking going to like session spot or like, you know, session skate this like spot for this kid, you know. It's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
That's like sort of like that's like what skateboarding culture I know is, you know what I'm saying? And like that's why it is that way pretty much, is like almost like because of those fucking pool sessions. Essentially you can like trace it right to that if you want to do them. And that's cool.
And it was also kind of like just a victory lap for the whole team, just to kind of come together and just skate all the time together, you know, just for this period in time, and then just kind of drift off their separate ways back to where they were.
Right. Yeah, man. It's pretty good. You know, and like that, like skateboarding, like brings people together. Like that's what like people like to think it does now, and you know, like that's the vibe. And I don't know, like it's so cool just to see like the roots of like all that shit. You know, skateboarding's cool. I'm playing a skateboarding video game as we speak.
Oh yeah, I kind of want to fire up some old Tony Hawk now and just, you know, but I gotta work in the morning. So
You should.
can't do that.
You should do a Kelly Slater, dude. No fucking locals only, bro.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. All right, peace, y'all.
Oh my god. I mean, one last thing I'll say is that I also really enjoyed the documentary. It's been a while since I've watched a documentary that I've enjoyed. But I'm also glad that Filmspeak is doing our first documentary because we haven't done one yet. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yep. We should do a music documentary at some point soon.
Yeah, you've been into it.
Yeah, well, they're just really good. Like, you know, fucking the Bouncing Souls documentary is like one of the best like movies I've ever seen, because they just like were there to like have that whole thing filmed, and you know, similar to this, like they always had a camera ready, and they just lived like a crazy ass life. So, like,
Yeah.
you know, they're definitely like really like fun, cool music documentaries that are out there that we should check out.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't like poking fun at you. I was just saying.
No, I know. I'm just kind of like giving like an example. Like I honestly was like thinking about it last night. I'm like, well, like some of this shit would be like just as entertaining as like a real movie would be to watch.
I know you're probably thinking, how can I get Dave to watch a 4-hour Grateful Dead documentary?
Oh yeah, dude. June fucking 1st, baby. Amazon Prime. I think it's called like Long Strange Trip. And I'm like, yes, sir. Yes, it has.
All right. Did anyone else have anything to say about Dogtown and Z-boys?
No.
I like it.
Yeah, please just edit the last that whole thing out.
All right, I will. All right.
Alright, this movie's cool, and skateboarding fucking rules.
Yeah.
Go
out there and
break your leg.
that's right. Go kickflip over some shit.
Yo, go kickflip your dick off, dude.
Oh my fucking god.
And then I'm gonna do a hand plant on your grave.
Okay, anyway, that that about wraps it up for this episode of Filmspeak. If you like what you've been hearing, make sure you check us out on social media. We are on Facebook. No, whoa, what am I saying? We are on Instagram at Filmspeak.
Fuck Facebook.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm so over you. Okay, make sure you check us out on. Hey, oh my god, stop talking. Make. I'm turning the volume down. Hold on. Make sure you check us out on Facebook. No, oh my god, I keep fucking up. Make sure you check us out on Instagram at Filmspeak, Twitter at FilmspeakPod. We are on Facebook. We have a YouTube page. We are on SoundCloud, and we are on iTunes. Have a good week. Say bye, y'all.
Bye. Pull some method airs.
Do a Christ air.
Okay.
Oh shit, judo.
Do a judo flip.
Yeah.
All right,
Take a
I'm ending
flip.
this.